Well, the Sooners have another 11 a.m. kickoff this Saturday, and the opponent is the Iowa State Cyclones, 3-4 overall on the year, 0-4 in Big 12 play. But those 4 losses have come by a combined 14 points. So a better football team than their record would indicate, and a team that's proven they can play with anybody. To preview this contest taking place at Jack Trice Stadium over the weekend, we welcome in Nick Osen of CycloneAlert.com, our Iowa State affiliate on the 24/7 Sports Network. Nick, thanks so much for taking the time, and I guess the natural place to start is with this Iowa State defense, the 3-3-5 scheme under the direction of DC John Heacock. A very good defensive football team. That is the norm, has been the norm under Matt Campbell. How much does this defense need to accomplish on Saturday to put Iowa State in a position to win the football game?
Yeah, it's a defense that returns some big names, All-American Will McDonald, All-Big 12, Anthony Johnson, who actually made the move from corner to safety this year, and a lot of other, really good young players and some vets as well. Quite honestly, the defense is a major reason Iowa State has been in a lot of these games, like you mentioned. I think the offense found a little something in their last game against Texas, but Haycock and that unit are going to have to bring it again this weekend. I know we've, kind of talked previously about how prolific the Sooners offense can be. Dylan Gabriel looks to be back healthy and playing very well. And the thing to me is, it's going to be kind of a balance of obviously getting Gabriel under some pressure. And I know he's a quarterback that doesn't necessarily turn the ball over a lot, where the Cyclones have found a lot of success with takeaways this year. So whether that's maybe, forcing him into that, even though he hasn't done a lot of that, or stepping up on third downs and things like it, essentially keeping that successful offense off the field as much as possible, I do think will be a major part of the Cyclones not only being in this game, but as you know, I think it's going to go down to the wire and potentially lead to a victory at home in Ames.
Now, Hunter Dekkers took over in the aftermath of Brock Purdy's jump to the NFL draft this past season. Purdy, of course, a 7th-round selection of the San Francisco 49ers and had been a 3-year starter for Iowa State. So for the first time in a minute, the Cyclones handed things off to a brand new signal caller. How much confidence is there in Dekkers at this point based on what he's done over the first half of the season that he's the guy that can lead Iowa State to a bowl berth down the stretch by virtue of his play?
Yeah, I think around the team and, within the team and the staff, the confidence is through the roof. And I think that even with the fan base, what Dekkers showed in Austin, I think the confidence is really fully there. I mean, what you knew about this quarterback coming in, athletic, good leader, and can make just about every throw, especially the deep ball. He's got, kind of a cannon, a bigger arm than Purdy had. But Purdy was also a really good leader and a lot of intangibles. I think that Dekkers has shown some of those things even throughout some of these tougher games. Excuse me. I feel like obviously some things have just kind of gone against him and the team as of late. But what he showed against Texas, basically making throw after throw, third downs, fourth downs, tight spaces, spreading the ball around, I think the confidence is really as high as it's been all year. And I know that the Sooners aren't necessarily known for having a great back end of their defense. So I expect Dekkers to have a really good, clean game Saturday for Iowa State this weekend.
You feel as though Xavier Hutchinson is another guy that needs to have a big-time impact performance in order to lift the Cyclones to victory?
Absolutely. I think that, you could really make the argument he's the best player on the entire team. He's one of the top pass catchers in the country. The obvious stats back it up. Pro Football Focus and grades like that do. And the unfortunate thing is he's gotten so many targets and so many receptions. He's arguably kept the team in a lot of games. But as of late, he's had a couple big drops at the end of a couple games that have really hurt Iowa State. I think this is a game where he and the offense are able to put it all together. I think that he wins most one-on-one matches, and I don't think that this game is necessarily going to be any different for him. I'm really interested to see how he can be a focus and still find success while Iowa State likely brings back their 2 running backs, because if you factor in all of those options offensively, I think the Cyclones are set up for a good day.
Now, you mentioned the running backs briefly there. Give us some insight, if you will, on how the Cyclones have addressed the loss of Breece Hall, who was a superstar in every sense of the word in his 3 years in Ames.
Absolutely. Yeah. Brees Hall is someone that has seamlessly made the jump to the NFL, it would seem. And so Jirel Brock, been around actually since Brees Hall's class. So he is a fourth year junior. Had some spot carries, and, people have seen him on the field. He was the RB1 coming into the year, still is, and actually got off to a really good start this season. But he simply hasn't been healthy throughout most of Big 12 play. It sounds like he's been very active at practice, 100% of activities from what I've heard, and Campbell kind of hit on that this week. So I think you see him on Saturday. And then true freshman Cartavius Norton. He was kind of a late commit in the 2022 class, somebody that was around in the spring for Iowa State this year. And fans and the team are just very high on him. He hits the hole probably harder than anyone on the team. Fast, but a pretty physical runner, especially for being so young. And he's been out. I mean, I believe he only has 7 or 8 carries on the entire year. But just to show kind of what Campbell and the staff think of him, he was asked recently, Campbell was, do you ever kind of think of redshirting this player? He's been injured so much, and it was just an obvious no. And it was just a quick shutdown because I'd say he's inarguably a top 2 running back on the team. So it's going to be interesting to see how they balance the two of them. That's kind of how the Cyclones have approached it. And there's a lot of excitement to have those two back this weekend.
Now, we talked about offense. We talked about defense. Let's talk about special teams. How much of a concern is that for Iowa State? Because you look back to the Kansas game, obviously Jace Gilbert, the freshman kicker from Marlow, Oklahoma, missed 3 field goals, very costly in a 14-11 win for the Jayhawks on their home turf. So you talk about the kicking game, talk about special teams as a whole. You think back to 2020, obviously when Iowa State beat Oklahoma in Ames, there were a couple special teams plays that loomed very large in that football game that helped tip the scales in favor of the Cyclones. So what is your general evaluation of that fast of the game right now for ISU?
Yeah, Parker, I like how you put that. I think that I would be lying or maybe a little bit hyperbolic if I said that it was the biggest strength of the team, but I also feel like some of the special teams mistakes or gaffes, either early this year or simply in the past, have just kind of added to some of the frustration and kind of fan frustration from the season because there's so much inexperience. You mentioned Gilbert. They've got a true freshman punter in Tyler Perkins, does Iowa State. And I feel like the last few games, for the most part, especially in the kicking and punting game, things have been better. Now, there have been potentially issues in covering some kick return here and there, or it does take a long time sometimes to get that punt off. But I would say that especially coming off a bye week, I don't necessarily see that as this lingering issue, even though it's not maybe the strength of the team as, say, the defense might be.
All right, Nick, lock in a prediction. You rolling with the Sooners or the Cyclones this Saturday?
Yeah, I think we're going to get a great one in Ames. I really do. I think these are two above average to good teams that just haven't necessarily played their best football. Only thing would surprise me is a blowout, but I've got Iowa State getting on the winning track in the Big 12. Close game. I think they attacked that Sooner secondary 28-25 Iowa State.
That is Nick Osen, CycloneAlert.com. If you are an Iowa State fan, you're going to want to head to his site, get all the up-to-date intel on your Iowa State Cyclones, especially as it pertains to football and recruiting. Nick does an awesome job covering basketball recruiting as well. So CycloneAlert.com is the place to be if you're an Iowa State fan. If you're a Sooner fan and you're not subscribed to this channel, I'd recommend you do that. Help us help you. You're never going to miss a thing that comes your way from myself, Brandon Drum, Spencer Forsyth, or any of the members of our OUinsider.com team. And if you're not a VIP at OUinsider.com, I'd head there as well. 30-day trial costs you just $1. If you like it, you can stay on with an annual membership. If not, no hard feelings, no obligations, can go your own way. But OUinsider.com is the place to be. No better place across the entire interwebs to get up-to-date intel on Sooner football and recruiting. My name's Parker Thune. I'll see you next time. Take care.